International Expeditions is pleased to be bringing you this webinar. We are here to talk about Chiloé Island and northern Patagonia with our naturalist, Claudio Vidal. But before we turn it over to Claudio, I'd like to introduce you to our other guest speaker this evening, Bill Robison. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you very much, Lee, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us this evening or afternoon, depending on where you are. Like Lee said, I am Bill Robison. I'm the Director of Program Development here at International Expeditions, and that means I pretty much have just about the coolest job in the world. I get to develop and explore and develop new itineraries and experiences and journeys for our guests by working with some of the best folks in the business in our office and definitely some of the best folks on the road. Claudio Vidal being no exception to that rule. He is absolutely one of the best, and we'll be talking to him here in a bit. He's one of the big reasons why we've been so successful in this area. So we're excited to talk to you tonight about Chiloé Island in the Northern Archipelago. This is a northern part of Patagonia that Claudio is going to go into more detail with you. I'll give you a little bit more of the nuts and the bolts, but I'm really excited to finally be able to bring this to you. Everyone's always looking for new experiences. Many of you might have already been to lower Patagonia. Patagonia is such a vast area with so many different environments, so many different exciting things to offer. What we've done here is put together the best of the area via ship and via land as well. So it has two major components that will give different experiences on both, but will definitely let you delve into to the area in depth. But for those of you who don't know us, International Expeditions has been around about 35 years now that we've been in the nature travel business. We are founded on the core values of conservation and ecotourism. That's at the center of everything that we do, and we're involved in many projects to those effects around the world. And that's what all of our travel itineraries are about. We're able to do this because we work with some of the most fantastic expedition leaders and guides in the world, men and women who not only make the flora and the fauna and the natural history really come to life for you, but who are also just fantastic people and great travel companions and make the trip just one in a million. We believe in small group travel, giving you the group size that is conducive to having one-on-one learning experiences with a guide and traveling with a nice group of like-minded people and sharing wonderful experiences with them. The local culture and local interaction are very important to us too. We want to get to know the people, not just the animals where we go. And in the end, we have a passion for nature travel. Our office sits on, I think it's 20 acres of private reserve just outside of Helena, Alabama. We got to add a new bird to our species list today, as a matter of fact. I forget which species it was because it's a rare one in that area. But it was a big deal. Everything stopped when we got this new species, and we had to get out the list and check it off and sit on it. There's a lake. It's what we live. And we hope that all of these things will combine to give you truly genuine experiences in the places that you travel to with us. We've been recognized by several wonderful publications such as Travel and Leisure, National Geographic, Photos. We were in the book 1,000 Places to See Before You Die. Fantastic book. If you haven't picked it up, there's so many wonderful things in it. Cruise Critic, among other things like that. So Claudio is going to go over the real nuances and talk about what's really magical and interesting about the places we go. But here are the nuts and bolts for you, and this is all available on our website. Don't worry about jotting it down. But just to give you the itinerary in a nutshell, it's an overnight flight down to Chile. You'll go through Santiago. We have meet and greet service for you in Santiago. They will assist you with checking in for your flight to Puerto Montt, and we will meet you upon arrival in Puerto Montt. So everyone gets an arrival transfer there in Puerto Montt. You don't have to worry about taxis. You don't have to worry about setting anything up in advance. It's one of the most uncomfortable feelings is to land in a place. You walk outside, there's 800 signs, and everybody's pulling you for taxis. We don't believe in that, so we're just going to take care of you from the moment that you land. So we spend the night there in Puerto Montt before we embark on the Scorpios 2 to start our Patagonia cruise. Here we'll sail through an area called the Northern Archipelago. There's names for every island and every bay, but there's many. And Claudio mentioned some of them. Extremely scenic, very different from southern Patagonia. We will visit San Rafael Glacier, which is the northernmost glacier in the Chilean ice fields, and definitely the most active. It's calving very frequently, which is exciting to see, but sadly it means it's retreating quite quickly. And not sure how many years from now, we're all used to hearing that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, but it is truly retreating very fast. Unfortunately, they have markers to show where it used to be, but it's a beautiful thing to see, and it's a great experience by doing that from the boat. We'll come back up to, at the end of our cruise, we'll come back up to Puerto Montt, and then we'll begin our land portion. We'll get over to Chiloé Island and really spend some time exploring this largely untouched in a tourism sense of the word. It's not the island has not been overrun. They're very small accommodations, as you see, which is one of the things that we love about it. And most of all, the experience with the wildlife and the local culture, which is quite different from the mainland, is really what makes it so special. And under the leadership of guys like Claudio, it just makes it all the more special for someone like that to be able to show you this wonderful world. So we'll spend 4 nights there on the island, 2 in Tepehueco and 2 in Parque Quilquico, which we'll talk about again here in a bit. And that's before flying home. We'll talk about this at the end, but the flight from Castro to Santiago is part of your program. It's priced separately, but it is part of your program. So that's a flight that you don't have to worry about. Well, let's talk about that at the end. I really want to get Claudio in here to tell you about all the beautiful things that you see. Claudio is truly a pioneer and a wonderful conservationist, a visionary. He has co-authored over 20 books on the flora and fauna of Patagonia. He is a tremendous photographer, as you're going to see. The vast majority of these pictures in here are Claudio's. If he wasn't on the webinar, I'd be telling you they were mine, but he's here, so I have to tell you that they are his. He is really a fantastic photographer. He is not just that, he's a great guy. He's a wonderful travel companion, always winds up making friends with everyone, even after the trip. He's 100% service-oriented. He cares about the quality of your experience from start to finish, and he's a big reason for the success that we've had in this area. So I'm going to turn it over to Claudio now, and let's talk about Chiloé and northern Patagonia.
Well, Bill, thanks very much, Bill Lee, for such a welcoming introduction. Well, I am thrilled really to explain to give you some information, first-hand information about this wonderful destination in the northwestern corner of Patagonia, in the southern portion of the country I proudly call home, Chile. So it's really wonderful to be using these tools and to be connected with people in the U.S. And well, I cordially invite you to travel with me through these images across this pristine territory, which is a fascinating corner of the planet. I was too fast in putting this next slide, but I just want to mention a few facts about the isolation of Chile in terms of biogeography and about other features of the country. Well, Chile is located in the western flank of South America and extending for nearly 3,000 miles along the flank of South America, extending from latitude 18 degrees south all the way down to the Cape Horn at 56 degrees south. So if you look the shape of Chile, it's pretty much a mirror image of your west coast in North America, with deserts, with Mediterranean regions in central Chile, which equals California, then a land of volcanoes and temperate woodlands, very reminiscent to Oregon, Washington State, British Columbia. And finally, the tundra-like and glacier-dominated landscapes of Patagonia, very similar to what you find in Alaska. As you can see in this map, we are surrounded by the Grand Pacific Ocean, and then flanked in the eastern side by the Atlantic. In the most southerly part, you can find the Southern Ocean, and you can realize the proximity, how close we are with the northern tip of the Antarctic Peninsula. So Chile is flanked along its entire range by the Andes. This phenomenal chain of mountains really determine and make a huge barrier from the rest of South America. And that's the reason we don't have any tropical ecosystems in our country. Chile's habitats, particularly its forests, are more closely related to woodlands in distant places like New Zealand, Australia, Tasmania, the highlands of Papua New Guinea or New Caledonia. So that is the interesting thing, the interesting fact, that most of the species present a high degree of endemism, that meaning they are found nowhere else. And also it's interesting that the areas are so well preserved by a very large network of national parks and nature reserves, protecting nearly 20% of the country. It's a high percentage. We are going to concentrate on this webinar on the southernmost portion of Chile, which in a region we share with Argentina. This is Patagonia. Patagonia is a biogeographical area, but also has some historical definitions. These two concepts overlap and makes perfect sense. In the eastern side of Patagonia is Argentina, which is a quite dry area. Far in the western side, in a region affected by the prevailing westerly winds and all the precipitation coming from the ocean, lies the western Patagonia, all of it located in the western side. So you may think of Patagonia and relate immediately to these dramatic mountain landscapes of southern Patagonia. This is home for me. I'm based in the southernmost city in Chile called Punta Arenas. So, but the region we are going to explore on this particular webinar is the northwestern corner of Patagonia, which has some similarities but strong differences, lots of contrast. So I think this is an ideal destination for people who has visited Patagonia before, or people with an interest in mixing the cruise experience and the last portion of the land portion of Chiloé Island. I'm having trouble here to go to the next slide. Maybe Bill can help me. Thank you.
Let's see. Click on the image there, Claudio.
Right. Perfect. Okay. Going to the previous one.
That happens a lot. Don't worry.
Which shows you the map. Basically, we explore the northwestern part of Patagonia, and we have, as Bill mentioned before, two components. One component is the cruise portion, and the other is the land tour. During the cruise portion, we explore the seaways of this vast maze of islands, channels, the archipelagic region of northwestern Patagonia. So that's very dramatic, very pristine. The final destination on that particular cruise is the San Rafael Glacier, located in the southernmost part of your map. Right now you can see it very well. So on that trip we have exciting marine wildlife, some journeys in exploring with the skiffs and also with the boat, reaching the glaciers, and we will see the ongoing process, modeling the geography. It's very dramatic and sparsely populated. We will have the chances of seeing some fishing villages like Puerto Aguirre on the way down to San Rafael. So allow me to explain now and concentrate on the cruise portion. This is pretty much day one of the itinerary. With a touchdown in Puerto Montt, we are entering in Chile's Lake District. Heading to Puerto Varas for one night, we will see imposing volcanoes, some of them active, and a very nice mixture of lakes and temperate woodlands. Very photogenic landscapes, and this is just the beginning. It's a gentle introduction to an area of Chile with a strong German influence since the German pioneers arrived in the 1880s, invited by the government of Chile to occupy these territories, to initiate the economic activities in this region of Chile. So on day two, we set off from Puerto Montt aboard Cruceros Scorpius, the Scorpius 2. This is a vessel, ice-class vessel, built in Chile, and is owned by a family of pioneers in the area, the Cochifas family. Later on, Bill is going to give you some specifications about the cruise, but this unique vessel of 100 passengers allows us to really explore the narrow seaways in great comfort, and really have the chance to explore and get to know the glacier activity in San Rafael, which is really magnificent. On this trip, we explore one of the most pristine regions of Chile. As I said, sparsely populated. This region is known as the Patagonia Fjords. This is one of the wettest regions in the world. And all the weather is coming from the west, from the Pacific Ocean. And that's the reason you have such a lush vegetation. Very dense woodlands comprising many species of trees. And it's a unique forest community, as I said, closely related to places like Tasmania or New Zealand, and nowhere else in South America. So during the trip, during the cruise, we will have splendid opportunities to watch some wildlife. And particularly well represented are the marine mammals, like Peale's dolphins, pods of killer whales, of orca, which are possible to see as there are many colonies of sea lions and fur seals on the channels. So they are the predators of these animals. During the last 10 years or so, researchers have been actively working on the waters of the Corcovado Gulf. This is an expanse of open ocean located immediately south of Chiloé Island. And this is an area which holds nearly 300 individuals of blue whale, the largest mammal on Earth, largest animal on Earth. And this has been quite a discovery, because this has driven the interest of the nation not to protect just land habitats, but also to establish huge marine reserves. Now the whole area of the Gulf of Corcovado has been declared an area of scientific interest and protected as one of our marine parks, of the 3 marine parks we have in Chile, in continental Chile. Just recently, just a few days ago, a huge marine park was declared in areas around Rapa Nui in Easter Island. So in terms of conservation, I think that in Chile we are doing a certain progress and consistent progress. So the chances of seeing blue whales are pretty good during January through April. And if people is keen to share with me and the other guides time on deck, we certainly have opportunities to watch these gentle giants while feeding on the Corcovado Gulf waters. Down in the San Rafael Glacier, we have chances of seeing other interesting mammals, like leopard seal. Leopard seal is an animal that you relate to the latitudes of the Antarctic continent. But there are small populations in more temperate latitudes. For example, around the glaciers, around the outlet glaciers of southern Patagonia in Chile, sustain some long-term populations. Like in San Rafael Glacier, we are able to see this remarkable predator which feeds almost exclusively on warm-blooded prey, like penguins, cormorants, and others. There is a famous line of an American ornithologist called Robert Cushman Murphy, saying, "I now belong to a higher cult of mortals, for I have seen the albatross." These magnificent birds really inspire sailors and people, and it's very special when people see the first albatross at sea. It's really a wonderful opportunity, and the waters of Corcovado Gulf are a perfect place to see 2-3 different kinds of these magnificent birds, largest flying birds on Earth. So after the expanse of the open ocean in Corcovado Gulf waters, we go across broad channels and getting into very narrow fjords and channels, some of them covered by considerable amounts of ice. You can see the scorpions while cruising through these pristine landscapes. And our final destination, here on this cruise, during the first half of the trip we are describing, this is our base, the Scorpios, and this is just an image that gives you an idea of how actively calving this glacier is, with lots of the crevasses. And this is a glacier which is one of the largest in Chile, and it has been documented for more than 100 years in terms of the extent of its front. So it has experienced massive receding during the last 100 years. So this is something that we are going to experience, we are going to see in detail. We are going to explore the whole bay of San Rafael, which is a national park. Watching this monumental condensed piece of ice, the iceberg carving from the glacier. It's just magnificent to see the coloration. In some of the cases, a very dramatic indigo color chunks of ice. And it's the time also to treat yourself after a long day of exploration of this magnificent place with a glass of scotch and chunks of millenary ice. Why not? You totally deserve it. So I think that I like this trip in particular in comparison to the southern trips in Patagonia, because here is a well-balanced product showing you the wildlife, but also showing you the culture. In Chiloé, the local people are proudly called Chilotes, and they are descendants of the most interesting mixture of the Spanish and the Indians living in the island. So they occupy the coast along the entire island. They're giving them access to the ocean, where they do extensive fishing, and they're giving them access to the woodlands, to the dense forest in the interior of the island. So people is very friendly, very proud of the way of life, their food, their music. So I think that that's also a highlight of this trip, the opportunity to interact with the locals, with the Chilotes, and probably one of the most friendly people in the country. Fishing villages, some of them with colorful boats, and so that is a very brief description of the cruise portion of the trip, the first half of our itinerary in northern Patagonia. Later, we are going to concentrate on Chiloé Island. This is second largest island in Chile after Tierra del Fuego, And we are going to spend 5 days exploring forest, wetlands, coastal mudflats, and towns. It's very interesting. There is a lot of variety, and I must say, very different from what we see during the cruise portion. The way to visit Chiloé Island is by ferry. So we go across, taking the ferry. As we speak, there is this project. It's an ongoing construction. We are at the early stages of building a bridge from mainland Chile to Chiloé. It will take nearly 5 years to accomplish that major work. So everything is going to change drastically, I must say, when the bridge is fully built, completely built. But I always say that the trip to Chiloé Island is a voyage back in time. As soon as you touch the island, you see these scenes. The Chilotes working in the fields or collecting seaweed along the shores, and they are always with a smile, and it's just fascinating to have this kind of scenes while watching birds on these mudflats too. What the Chilotans are very proud of are their churches, wooden churches built in the 17 and 1800s by the Jesuits missionaries, and they are splendid wooden buildings made out of shingles of different designs, some of them very colorful. There are around 50 of these buildings throughout the archipelago. All are considered UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and we will have the opportunity to visit at least 5 of them during our itinerary in Chiloé Island. Interesting wooden places, temples. The inside is entirely wood of various trees, various kinds. This is the cathedral in Castro, the main village of Chiloé Island. So we have a little bit of culture. We will try the local gastronomy, but then also the reason to explore Chiloé Island is its rich wildlife and pristine landscapes. We will go across streams and rivers looking for endangered species like the southern river otter, or one of the world's most endangered canids is Darwin's fox. Chiloé Island is really the stronghold for the world population of these endemic fox to Chile. It's a short-legged fox, absolutely delightful to see, and together other species like the pudu, one of the smallest deer in the world. Those will be the highlights and target species during our itinerary. The chances to watch wildlife are always better if you carry the right equipment. So bring binoculars. Binoculars are not a luxury item, it's a must for this kind of trip. So our guides also bring spotting scopes, so the wildlife observation experience is much better. You see behaviors, you see textures, you see all kind of details during our hours in the field. And this picture shows a lady watching migratory shorebirds in the numerous mudflats that we will find in the Chiloé coastline. And in these places also we watch for seabirds, conspicuous inhabitants of the Southern Ocean, like the Magellanic and Humboldt penguins, or in the inland wetlands like black-necked swans. Bird watching opportunities are great and relax. I think that also with the right equipment, we are just have a splendid views of a large array of species restricted to these areas. Everything in southern Chile is southernmost, for their particular groups. Like in this case, Austral parakeet, world's most southern species of parrot, or greenback firecrown, a tiny inhabitant of the dense woodlands of Chiloé Island. Very common, together with this ground-dwelling bird, Chucao tapaculo. Fantastic birds, very friendly, very tame, I must say, some of them. And this is probably the most sought-after bird, Magellanic woodpecker, largest woodpecker in the Americas. Opportunities for photography are also fantastic. So for any level of skill in photography, from point and shoot cameras to professional equipment, you really have great opportunities to photograph mammals, to photograph birds, also the flora, and going even for more specialized techniques like macro photography, as there are many flowering plants and interesting subjects like this tree lizard. So I think that there is a nice selection. It's a wonderful highlights in terms of striking scenery, unique culture of the people of Chiloé, the Chilotes, and then the wildlife of the northern archipelago, Patagonia and Chiloé Island. This has been just a very brief introduction to the subjects we are going to see on these expeditions, and for more descriptions in terms of accommodation and the crews we use, I'm going to turn to Bill, so he will tell us all about it. Thanks very much.
All right. Excuse me. Yeah, Claudio, thank you very much. Hopefully everybody was really entertained and excited by all the description. It truly is a land of diversity and diversity of experience and diversity of species, and so different from southern Patagonia, which we're also familiar with, particularly Chiloé Island. It's just this wonderful, green, lush place filled with the nicest people and interesting wildlife, and has yet to be really overrun by people or groups visiting the island. It'll be interesting, for lack of a better word, to see what the building of the bridge does for the island. Currently you have to take the ferry, which is a little more effort, and you have to drive up to Ancud to get it. So it's kind of kept the Chilotes at least a little bit isolated. Now they have a flight 3 times a week, which I was on when I went down and did my trip, and will be on this trip, and it was packed. I mean, the Chilotes loved it. This is a connection to the mainland where they don't have to get on the ferry. The ferry is beautiful for us. We love watching the birds and seeing if there's any dolphins and such. But, for them, it's just a trip back and forth. And now that they're building the bridge, it's certainly going to bring more commerce and more interest in the area. So it's a really great time to see it. And the attractions are so interesting. And we have some wonderful accommodations while we stay there. So let's go through all of them. This is Hotel Cabañas del Lago, which is our home in Puerto Varas at the start of the trip. It's one of the oldest hotels there and most well-known. Really beautiful, privileged location. Just 157 rooms. They all have view of Lago Yanquihue, which is the lake that you see in front of you there. And if we turned the camera around, you'd have incredible views of Osorno volcano, which Claudio showed you there at the beginning of the presentation. They have a really tremendous restaurant here with, of course, great views. And it's a good place to go out walking. Very safe town that you can just go out and walking and exploring here. So it's a wonderful place to start the trip. And the 2 properties that we stay at on Chiloé Island, we'll talk about the boat actually here in a second, they were just 2 of the most striking and charming and interesting places that I've been in a long time. This here is a picture of Hotel Kilkiko. And I encourage you to visit all these websites. And, these days, YouTube is just a great source of information. You can go on there and watch videos to your heart's content. I wish we could sit here and do that all afternoon, but I think I'd lose most of you doing that. Parque Kilkiko, they have just 21 rooms. They're set in this just beautiful 10-hectare nature reserve, so it's a private reserve. It's overlooking these lush green hills that really typify Chiloé Island, and with sweeping views of the fjord, which you get a good view of there. It's just 16 kilometers from the town of Castro, which is the island's main main town and where the airport is located. It was designed by a well-known architect there named Edward Rojas, and it's done to mimic a really authentic Chilote village at the top of a quiet hill facing the sea, like you see most of their towns doing. Rooms all have private bathroom, AC and heater, windows with access to individual balconies you can see there with view, safe, and a telephone. So it's a small property with all the amenities that we like. Hotel Tepehueco is down in Parque Tepehueco, and this was just such a striking and wonderful place. Just 9 rooms here, and you're looking at the rooms on the lower level there. So all the rooms look out over the park and the lake that is right in front of the property. And you really get this feeling that you're in an isolated area, just tremendously surrounded by nature, and some unbelievable stargazing here because there's just simply no light pollution whatsoever. Just had tremendous bird life here, tremendous experiences in the forest. It's not difficult walking. It's quite easy here. Like I said, just 9 rooms. It's family run. In fact, the family lives there. They're sweet as can be. You're their guests when you're there. I mean, their kids, they have 2 kids that were, wanting to meet everybody and running around. The family cat was in the back, and the food was just unbelievable. All the rooms feature a heater. You don't really need AC here. The temperatures don't get that high, but they do have a heater, hot water showers, en-suite WCs. It's just a good view of the surrounding forest that you have from your room there. A beautiful dining room with panoramic views of the lake. A number of rivers come together here to form these lakes, and that just provides for wonderful hiking and wonderful wildlife viewing. In particular, the hummingbirds here, the parrots, the slender-billed parakeets, which is not such a common species otherwhere. It's endemic to the area, but very common in this area because they love the I forget the name of the tree that grows very well around the grounds here, and they just love it. So they're always coming around squawking. Very good photo opportunities for those. We were lucky to see a rufous-legged owl here that we called in at night. It was just really special and an interesting species of nightjar as well. So the food was just tremendous everywhere on the trip, including on the ship. They love their seafood here on Chiloé Island in this whole area. Obviously, they get it, it's the catch of the day, fresh right there. And the gastronomy, along with the famous Chilean wines, is just never ceases to amaze. And these properties all feature that as a point of pride for them to have the tremendous food. Okay, so the Scorpios too. Like Claudio mentioned, this is part of a family business, the Cochifas family. The father, Mr. Cochifas, I can't remember his name. I know his sons, but not his name. He started as just a simple fisherman with his own boat, and he has built a fleet of about 20 vessels, 2 of which are passenger vessels. The rest are ferries and cargo vessels. But they're a very well-respected name and just a tremendously proud family-run business. Anybody who's anybody in this company in charge is a Cochifas in one way or another, including captains of both the boats. And they're quite hysterical guys. They're a lot of fun to be around. Now, it was built in 1998, but it was refurbished in 2012. So everything's nice and up to date. She has a capacity of up to 106 passengers and 53 cabins over 5 decks. I'll show you the deck plan here in a second. The cabins offer twin or queen-sized beds depending on which deck location you choose. All cabins have private toilet facilities, plasma TV, and large bathrooms. I was really thrilled. The door is closed there, but the brown door there goes to the bathroom. To see the size of the bathroom. I'm 6'2", and I've been on many boats where, if you're in the shower, literally shower closet, and you drop the soap, you bash your head on the way down to get it, or you simply give up. You have to get out and reach in and get it and then get back in. I'm very happy to say that's not the case on here. They have spacious bathrooms, which, when you're on a boat for 5 nights, that really makes a difference. And the cabins are very well maintained and beautiful public spaces throughout the ship. Cabins are about, depending on, again, the deck location, 140 to 160 square feet. They have 2 very comfortable lounges where we'll have our informal or our educational discussions, and they play movies, and they have social get-togethers in those as well, along with a nice little library. Beautiful dining room. Lots of deck space, lots of open air deck space where you can get your binoculars out. Like Claudio said, that is an absolute must on a trip like this. I can promise you that he will be up there the entire time spotting this and spotting that, so you won't have any problem finding a buddy up there to do that with. The ship has a completely open bridge policy, so you're more than welcome to come in and check out the maps, talk with the captain, and just enjoy the view from up there. We get a mixed group of folks on board. Their main market is Latin America, so you have a lot of Chileans, a lot of Argentinians, some Peruvians, Brazilians, quite a few Europeans. Australians like to get on the cruises here because they take a month off at a time. It's just I can't even fathom that. And they're going to travel all of South America, and they love to come on these cruises as part of their experience from Chile. But it is dual language on board. They do a very good job with it. Everything is in Spanish and in English, and it's not tedious. That can happen a lot where that's tedious. I am very happy to say that's not the case on here. And we have assigned seating, so we'll sit together as an IE group, but you won't be the only English-speaking person at a table. Unless you want to be. You let them know and say, hey, I'm here to practice my Spanish. I want to meet some different cultures. They'll be happy to put you at a table with some friendly folks from Spain or from Argentina or anything like that. But it's just never a problem. All right. Oh, here's that deck plan that I was talking about. So you can see your 5 decks. The cabins on the Athos and the Olympus deck are all queen, and then you get into twins on the Parthenon and Acropolis deck, and the Atenas deck there are no windows in those cabins, and most of them are triples, bunk bed style. We only hold 2 of those. We've been putting most folks on the Athos deck and the Olympus deck. There's not a big price difference, we'll see here in a second. But I think so far we've sold out all their suites, the 401 and 409 and 402 and 401. But the other cabins on the Olympus and the Parthenon, they're all great no matter where you go. But just to give you a little bit of description on which is which. There is no elevator on board. Just an FYI, and the dining room is on the lower deck. Okay, so here's the information on the trips in terms of prices and things like that. Again, it's all on our website. Don't worry too much about jotting things down. You can extend your stay. We have a wonderful 2-day pre-extension where you can explore the Lake District and the National Park there with Claudio. And it includes lunch and overnight at Cabañas del Lago and the excursion. And if you're going to come down a day early, I highly recommend it. These prices include your airport transfer. If you want to come in a day early, it doesn't matter what flight or what day. We will pick you up at the airport in Puerto Montt and take you to the hotel. Just don't worry about it. Take that off your plate. There's nothing more stressful than landing in a place and not having, you got the taxi drivers pulling on you or not knowing what's going on. Not that Puerto Montt is this huge airport. It's really not. It's very friendly people. But we've got that taken care of for you, so you don't have to worry about it. Those prices include all your excursions, your accommodations, and meals as described in the itinerary, your local guides, and your expedition leader. It includes a drink with each lunch and dinner when you're not on the boat, and I'm very happy to say that the boat has an open bar policy. So there's no charge for drinks on board the boat. They have a magnificent selection of Chilean wines that they rotate every night. It's not your typical open bar where they just give you the cheap stuff. Far from it. I recognized quite a few of the labels when I was on board and was very impressed that they would put that quality of a wine on the table when it is an included situation, and the waiters are not shy at all about refilling your glasses, so you definitely have a lot of fun with the meals. Bottled water throughout. It includes all your gratuities with the exception of your expedition leader and the Scorpios crew. Airport transfers, like we said. What else? The internal flight is priced separately. The only internal flight on this one is the flight from Castro back to Santiago. There's only 3 of those a week, and it's just too risky not to include it. They would sell out way too far in advance, so we got our group blocks on there. So we've got that taken care of for you. So your international air would be into Puerto Montt, which is PMC, the airport code. You would connect in Santiago for that. We have meet and greet in Santiago arranged for you. That airport code is SCL. And then your return home would be from SCL, Santiago, because we'll get you from Castro to Santiago. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, please give us a call. Obviously, we're here to answer any questions. If any of this didn't strike your fancy, or some of it did, or you have very specific things that you want to do in Patagonia, one of the things I love about it is it's such a vast and varied place. It can keep you coming back time and time again for a variety of different experiences. Give my colleague Charlie Weaver a call. He is a fellow Patagonia-phile, I guess you'd call us, like Claudio. He specializes in customizing itineraries for folks who want to do longer itineraries, shorter itineraries. You want to mix some fishing in there. You want to visit some wineries. We are lucky to work with Claudio and his business partner Enrique Cuve, who we nicknamed the Puma Whisperer. He can get you closer to pumas than you probably ever wanted to get on things that we call puma searches. Now, it's obviously famous last words. That'll be the day that they don't show up, but that's pretty unheard of with Enrique. He is renowned throughout Patagonia for his ability to do that. If you want a strictly birding trip, if you want to mix, like I said, with the wines and the gastronomy, maybe a cruise in Tierra del Fuego, or heading over into Argentina to experience some things there, Charlie Weaver is definitely your man to talk to about that. Can craft anything you'd like for you. All right, so today I got my first copy of our new brochure for 2016 and 2017. Please give us a call if you would like to get a copy of that. This trip is in there, or visit us online, and you can do that there. And in closing, there is our 800 number, our email. Please give us a call, visit our website if you have any questions at all. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. And speaking of questions, I'm now going to turn it back over to Lee and see if you all have any during the presentation. Lee?
Great. Yes. Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Claudio. It was a wonderful presentation. We do have a few questions here, though for those of you who came in after I explained how to ask your questions, I just want to review that one more time. The control panel is over on the right-hand side of your screen. You might need to click on the orange button with the white arrow to get it open. Then look for the area called questions. Type your question in, and I will read it to Bill and Claudio. So let's go to our first question. We have one here about single travelers. Do you ever offer the opportunity to room with someone if I'm traveling as a single?
Absolutely. Yes, we will be more than happy to try to pair you with another single. Happens all the time.
That's great. Thank you.
You
now, is there expected to be any impact to the trip or any of the locales from the recent volcanic eruption in Chile?
No, we don't expect it. The prevailing winds actually usually carry most of the ash cloud over to Argentina. I'm sure Argentina is very grateful for that. But it tends not to affect what we do in Chile. We obviously always keep an eye on it. We're in constant contact with Claudio. We're always watching things like that, and we would act should that come about. It has yet to come about. The winds typically take it over to where it won't be a problem for us.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
This is always a good question, frequently asked question. What are the average temperatures for this trip?
Claudio, what do you think? This time of the year, I mean, during the day here, it's warm. You know, it's not a typical trip to Patagonia when you're in the south.
The coldest will be around 60. They go up to 70 during the January. January and February is summer, so you can expect temperatures ranging between 60 to 75, in some exceptional days up to 80.
Yeah, no clouds in the sky. The sun gets pretty strong this time of the year, yeah, up to 80. But it's so pleasant. That's just one of the most magnificent things about being here. One of the reasons we love going. The weather's so pleasant.
Yeah.
No mosquitoes, no chiggers, no poisonous animals.
No mosquitoes, no chiggers. No snakes. Is there a snake on that island? I don't think there is.
is only one, but completely harmless and
it's
very
not
tiny.
poisonous. That's right.
And it's just wonderful to see it, but there to find it is very difficult. But completely harmless. So we don't have any of those hazards on the trips.
Wow, sounds like my kind of a place. Wonderful. So for packing, I guess you just pack in layers, and it's just probably pretty easy to pack for this trip.
Yeah, and that's my recommendation on most trips, unless you're going to somewhere that's, like the Amazon, our Amazon trip in Galapagos, it doesn't cool off that much. Dress in layers, 3 layers. Your underlayer, a t-shirt, and then maybe a long sleeve shirt on top of it and a light jacket. As it gets warmer, as the sun comes up, peel off the jacket. I mean, your thermometer is going to tell you what's going on. Sometimes you don't even need the second layer, but it's good to have the jacket with you in case.
That's waterproof jacket.
Yes, waterproof.
Waterproof, yeah. Okay. So how would you contrast this trip versus one to Western Antarctica from Ushuaia? Which trip would you recommend doing first?
Oh my goodness.
The question was if I compare with the Western Antarctic Peninsula to this particular itinerary. I think that there are similarities. The only similarity I found is the ice. But obviously, in this itinerary, you are concentrating on a continental ice field surrounded by woodlands and islands. So it's a completely different experience because the Antarctic, if you are traveling along the western side of the Antarctic Peninsula, you find incredible ice shelves and the penguin colonies, and it's completely different in experience. So I don't think both itineraries are comparable. There are similarities that you can find if you do both, but obviously it's quite difficult. They are very difficult to compare. This particular itinerary offers you the chance to see a great array of marine life, including sea mammals and seabirds, and other components that you don't find in Antarctica, woodlands, culture, and exploring some pristine landscapes of Patagonia. So, difficult question, that one, but probably, well, I tried to answer it the best I could.
And that makes sense. Yeah. And the birds, too, there's obviously a much higher degree of bird life on a trip like this, with the exception of the penguins, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Back to our weather, we have a follow-up question. What are the chances of rain in the cruise portion during that time of year?
During that time
of year is pretty slim.
Yes.
Go ahead, Claudio.
This is one of the rainiest regions in the world. Nearly 300 days of rain during the year. But January and February is the peak of the summer. So you really have clear skies, and I'm sure we will have 1 or 2 days with some rain. That's not rare. So people have to come prepare for a shower at least once during the trip.
All right. Now, Bill, is it possible to arrange a side trip either before or after to visit some of the southern fjords of Chile?
Oh, no question. Very easy. If you really want to concentrate on the fjords, and Claudio will comment here in a second too, there's a boat, the Scorpios 3, that sails out of Puerto. Oh my Lord, I'm getting my thank you, my Puertos mixed up here. Puerto Natales in southern Patagonia. That visits quite a few glaciers and fjords there. There's the Australis cruises that do Tierra del Fuego, where we have very great relationships with those companies. We're very happy to set that up. Very easy to do. Very.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. So for participants, how many participants, this is about language and translation and so forth, how many participants would be needed to have the services delivered in Spanish language?
Oh, if anyone on board does not speak English and speak Spanish, they will accommodate them with Spanish. If anyone on board if anyone on board doesn't speak Spanish or English, they're going to have a hard time because that's the two languages they speak on board. They're very accommodating to everyone, and one of the things about our trip is the fact that we have Claudio with us, who will always be speaking English to us, and he'll be giving the group, presentations and guiding all in English. It's mainly announcements and it's mainly announcements and directions and things like that are in both languages.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Back to our pre or post experiences. Is there a train that runs from northwestern Patagonia to southern Patagonia that one could take after the trip?
Do you know that one, Claudio? I don't know that one. I don't think so.
Train is not a train service in Patagonia in the western side. The geography is very broken, fjords, even the main road, the Pan American Highway, stops in Puerto Montt because there is no connectivity of roads or major roads heading south. So no, there is no train service in that particular region in Patagonia.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think that was our last question, and I've just looked at the clock and realized our hour is almost up anyway, so it's perfect timing. So, Bill and Claudio, let me turn it back over to you for closing comments.
Okay, well, I just again wanted to thank everybody so much for being with us tonight. We hope that you found the trip interesting. We'd love to invite you to go with us, and have a great evening. Thank you so very much.
Well, thanks very much for your time. It's an honor I feel privileged to really to describe these places I call home to you. And I hope to show you firsthand some of the wonderful things of the natural world and the culture of this part of the world. Thanks very much.
And with that, we will say good evening and conclude our webinar. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.